Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just looking at a novel, we are really dissecting a portrait of survival.
We really are.
We have a massive stack of notes here on Amanda Peters' debut novel, The Berry Pickers, and honestly, the themes we need to get through today are they're heavy.
They are very heavy.
We're talking about the severance of family roots, the systemic erasure of indigenous identity, and the really terrifying pliability of memory.
It is a narrative that fundamentally challenges the idea of closure. We often talk about closure in true crime or mystery novels as this neat little bow at the end.
Right, everything gets tied up.
Exactly. But this story suggests that for some families, and specifically indigenous families, dealing with the legacy of, forced separation closure is a myth. It just doesn't exist.
So what is there instead?
The reality is just endurance. It's about surviving the hole left in the center of your life, day after day.
And the catalyst for all of this is a single afternoon in July 1962. Let's set the stakes immediately for you, the listener. We have two parallel lives unfolding from one tragic split.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tree that gets struck by lightning and somehow continues to grow, but in two completely different directions.
That's a great analogy, a really great one. On one track, you have a Micmac family from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
They are seasonal laborers, so they travel south to Maine every year to harvest blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
Their reality is just defined by physical labor, by poverty, and by a very, very tight-knit community structure where everyone knows everyone.
And on the other track, what's the parallel life?
On the other track, you have a girl named Norma. She's growing up in Maine in what we would absolutely call a gilded cage.
Right.
She has affluent white parents, private property, silence, stability, everything the other family doesn't have. But she is haunted by dreams she can't explain, these sensory memories of a life she isn't supposed to have.
And the big one.
And crucial to the mystery, she has a skin tone that becomes the silent elephant in the room of her childhood home.
Because it doesn't match her parents at all. And that visual discrepancy is the itch she can't scratch, right? It's the thing that just doesn't make sense.
Precisely. So the core mystery is terrifyingly simple. What happens when a 4-year-old indigenous girl named Ruthie disappears from a berry field without a trace?
And at the same time.
And simultaneously, how does this girl, Norma, grow up with the shadow of Ruthie living inside her, in her dreams, in her own skin?
The structure of the source material is really interesting here because it doesn't make us guess if Norma is Ruthie. We kind of know that pretty early on, don't we?
We do.
It's not a whodunit in the traditional sense.
No, and I think that's a really smart choice by the author. The book alternates between two perspectives.
Dodo and Norma.
Joe, Ruthie's brother, who was 6 when she vanished, and Norma. So instead of, us playing detective...
We're not looking for clues about the crime.
Exactly. We're witnessing the consequences of the theft. We're watching one brother grow up in the blast radius of loss and one woman grow up in the fog of a lie. It's a character study of trauma over decades.
So let's get into the weeds of 1962. Section 1, the disappearance. I was really struck by the description of the setting. If you've never been to the berry fields in Maine, or if you're picturing some kind of fun summer camping trip, you just have to wipe that image from your mind.
Oh, completely. Far from it. This is grueling economic necessity. The source text describes the heat in the Maine berry fields as just suffocating.
Sticky.
It's sticky, it's humid, but the detail that really sets the atmospheric tone and the racial tone actually is the black flies.
The flies. Oh my gosh, I made a specific note of this because it's so visceral. It made my skin crawl just reading about it.
It is relentless, just swarms of them. But it introduces this pervasive myth held by the white locals and the landowners. They believe that the Micmac pickers had sour blood.
Sour blood. Wait, unpack that. What does that even mean?
It's this pseudoscientific nonsense that the shopkeepers and locals would say. They claimed the flies didn't bite the indigenous workers because their blood was different. Sour, unappealing.
Wow.
It is a classic example of othering. By creating a biological distinction, no matter how false, they justify treating people like machinery.
Right, because if they don't feel it or if their blood doesn't taste good to the flies, then their suffering isn't real. It lets the landowner off the hook. It absolves them of any guilt for the horrible working conditions.
Exactly. But Joe, narrating this part as a 6-year-old, he dismantles this lie immediately. He tells us the flies don't discriminate. They were being eaten alive just like anyone else would be. His mother, Kiju, had to boil alder to make a paste just to soothe the bites so the children could sleep at night.
So it's just a way to make their pain invisible.
It underscores that their pain was completely invisible to the people employing them. They were suffering just as much, but the narrative placed upon them, this sour blood myth, denied that suffering.
Speaking of the employers, we have to talk about Mr. Ellis, the landowner, the man in the mansion.
Yes. And to Joe, who's living in a tar paper cabin or a tent, Ellis's house looks like a castle. It's this huge white house on a hill.
It's a different world.
Completely. There's a moment where Joe asks his older brother Ben why the house has so many windows. It just seems excessive to him, a waste.
And Ben says it's just to show off that they're rich, which is such a profound observation for a little kid to make.
It frames the economic disparity perfectly. You have people sleeping on the ground, literally in the dirt, looking up at a house that is essentially a glass fortress. And it's in this environment, this massive disparity of power and wealth, that the disappearance happens.
So take us to the day. It's lunchtime, mid-July. The heat is probably shimmering off the ground.
You can feel it.
Joe is 6, Ruthie is 4, and they're sitting on a big rock at the edge of the field.
This scene is the anchor for the entire book. Everything, and I mean everything, pivots around this one rock. Joe is eating a bologna sandwich on dry bread, and this detail just kills me. He gives it to Ruthie.
He gives her his lunch. He's 6 years old. He's probably starving from working in the fields, but he gives it to her.
He does. He wants to go skip stones on the lake.
Yeah.
He's a kid. He just wants to play for a few minutes. Tells her, here, you eat this. Don't tell Mom I threw away the crusts.
A totally normal brother-sister moment.
The most normal moment imaginable. He leaves her there, happy, eating, wearing this little hand-me-down sundress with a corduroy patch under the arm.
That patch, that visual detail sticks with you through the whole story.
It has to. It's the visual imprint of the trauma.
Yeah.
That specific patch of brown corduroy on a faded dress. Joe walks away to skip stones. He hears the crows. He feels the sun.
Yeah.
And when he comes back,
She's gone.
silence. She's simply gone.
The transition from that quiet moment to absolute panic is so swift in the text, it's not a slow realization.
No, it's instant. The family realizes she isn't back at the camp. The whole community rallies. Everyone is searching the woods, shouting her name, checking along the highway, Route 9.
But this brings us to the most infuriating part of the analysis for me. I mean, truly infuriating. The police response.
This is a critical analysis point, not just for the book, but for understanding 1960s systemic negligence. The father, Lewis, runs to get the police. The officer who arrives, well, first of all, he arrives alone.
Alone. For a missing 4-year-old in the deep woods, that's not just insufficient, that's malpractice.
It's negligent.
Yeah.
And he's reluctant. He actually complains that he can't call in backup because there was a break-in at a farm supply store nearby.
Wait, pause for a second. So some stolen shovels or some feed takes precedence over a missing child, a 4-year-old girl.
The hierarchy of value in 1962 Maine, unfortunately, yes. Property over the transient life. And that's the word he uses. He calls the family transients.
Unbelievable.
He asks Lewis, the father, were you drinking? He implies the parents were negligent. He effectively blames them for their own tragedy within minutes of arriving.
Yeah.
He's just looking for a reason to not do his job.
There is a moment where Lewis, who is described as this big, strong, stoic man, actually grabs the officer by the collar.
Which is a terrifyingly dangerous thing for a Mi'kmaq man to do to a white cop in that era. I mean, that could have ended in him being arrested or shot.
Easily.
It just speaks to his sheer desperation. He is trying to shake the apathy out of this man. He's physically trying to force the officer to care.
And what does the officer do?
He just brushes him off, gets in his car, and leaves. He says, and this quote is chilling, "Let me know if she turns up."
Let me know if she turns up, as if she's a stray dog or a lost set of keys.
Exactly.
And Mr. Ellis, the landowner, he isn't much better, is he?
No, Mr. Ellis comes by a few days later, not to join the search, not to offer resources or food.
No, he comes by to complain.
He comes by to complain that the berries are rotting on the bushes. He says, this ain't my problem. It's a cold capitalist calculation. The harvest matters. The worker's child does not. To him, they are just hands to pick the fruit. If the hands stop picking, he loses money. That is the extent of his empathy.
So the official searches, it's non-existent.
It never happened.
The family searches until they literally cannot stay anymore. The season ends, the weather turns, they have to go back to Nova Scotia.
And that drive home is the first death in the book. It's a kind of spiritual death. Joe describes looking out the back window of the car, feeling like they were abandoning Ruthie in the woods.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for a 6-year-old.
He is 6 years old, and he internalizes the belief that he left her behind. He thinks, I gave her the sandwich, I left her on the rock, and now we were driving away. That guilt sets the concrete for his entire adult personality.
It's so heavy. Okay, let's pivot to the other side of the mirror now. Section 2, Norma.
Norma. Yeah. The girl who appears in a wealthy home in Maine around the same time Ruthie disappears. She is raised as the only child of a judge and a woman named Lenore.
A judge. That's a powerful position. That implies law, order, justice.
Irony of ironies.
Extremely. It provides a veil of respectability that makes him completely untouchable. I mean, who is going to question a judge about where he got his daughter?
Nobody.
But inside the house, it's a pressure cooker. Norma has these dreams.
And these aren't just nightmares, right? They're very specific. They have texture.
Yeah, they're sensory memories. They are fragments of another life. She dreams of a campfire, not a fireplace in a cozy living room, a campfire. She smells roasting potatoes. She hears a boy laughing, a specific joyful laugh.
And she sees a blue halo around the moon?
The blue halo, yes.
Is that a real thing? I wasn't sure.
It is, absolutely. It's an atmospheric phenomenon. It's called a moon ring, and it's caused by ice crystals high up in the air. But for a child to dream of that specific weather event consistently implies it's a memory.
A snapshot. It's a snapshot her brain took of a specific night, very likely the night she was taken. It's a piece of data her brain saved before the trauma shut everything else down.
But her mother, Lenore, the way she handles this is just classic gaslighting. It's almost painful to read.
It is textbook gaslighting. Lenore is a woman who is just consumed by anxiety. The text describes her keeping the curtains drawn all the time. She cleans obsessively. She is trying to scrub the truth out of the very walls of the house.
So every time Norma mentions the dreams,
Lenore shuts it down immediately.
Yeah.
Those are sugar nightmares. You just have an overactive imagination. Stop making things up.
Yeah.
She is actively teaching Norma to distrust her own mind.
That is so damaging for a child. I mean, to be told your reality is false by the one person you trust most in the world.
It creates a fracture in the psyche. Norma learns very quickly that to be good, to be loved, she has to agree with the lie. She learns to manage her mother's emotions. Lenore gets these debilitating headaches whenever Norma asks too many questions about the past. So Norma stops asking. She stops asking to protect her mother from the pain. It's a form of parentification. The child is taking care of the adult.
And then there's the obvious issue of her appearance. Norma is brown. Her parents are very, very white. She notices this as a kid at the beach. She sees the contrast.
And this is where we get the Italian lie. It's fascinating because it tells us so much about the racial hierarchy of the time. When Norma asks why she is so much darker, her father tells her it's a throwback to an Italian great-grandfather.
Why Italian? Why that specific lie? It feels so random.
Because in the mid-20th century, Italian was a socially acceptable way to explain away olive skin or dark eyes while still remaining within the bounds of European and, crucially, white.
It was a safe other.
Exactly. A safe, exotic, but not too exotic other. Admitting she was indigenous, that would have been social suicide for a family of their status, and obviously it would have revealed the kidnapping. Italian was the convenient cover story that allowed them to keep their position in society.
But Norma tries to find proof, though. She's smart. She doesn't just accept it. She looks at her earlobes. I love this detail because it shows how desperate she is for something concrete, something scientific.
Right, the biology.
Yeah.
She has unattached earlobes. Both of her parents have attached ones. She studies this in school Mendelian genetics. And she realizes, genetically, two parents with recessive attached lobes shouldn't be able to produce a dominant unattached lobe child.
It's a biological impossibility.
Or at least a massive improbability. She's looking for biological anchors. She knows the math just doesn't add up.
So what does she do? She asks for photos.
She does. She asks for baby photos. She wants to see herself as an infant, to see where she came from, to find some proof of her own history. But Lenore claims there was a fire. Oh, all the photos before you were 5 burned up.
And inconvenient.
It's such a convenient erasure. The subtext is devastating. Your history starts when we say it starts.
You didn't exist before we owned you.
That's exactly it. That is the subtext. But Norma does have a lifeline. She has Aunt June.
I liked Aunt June. I really did. She felt like the only breath of fresh air in that stifling, silent house. She drives a convertible, right?
She does. She is the complete foil to Lenore. June smokes, she drinks wine, she drives fast, she laughs loud, she brings life into the house. And she brings her partner, Alice, around.
Alice is important, too.
Alice is crucial because she validates Norma. She doesn't treat her like a fragile doll. She treats her like a human being. And she's the one who encourages Norma to write things down.
Journaling. To record the dreams.
Yes. Alice gives her a mechanism to preserve her own reality against Lenore's constant gaslighting. It's a subtle but powerful form of resistance. Writing it down makes it real, even if no one else will acknowledge it.
So Norma is growing up in this fog, knowing something is wrong but unable to name it. Meanwhile, back in Nova Scotia, Section 3, the aftermath. Joe's family is not okay. They didn't just move on.
No, not even close. They are shattered. The mother, Kiju, she refuses to accept that Ruthie is dead.
She can't.
She can't. So she creates a shrine in the closet. Ruthie's little boots.
And she puts a doll inside one of the boots.
A little sock doll. And that shrine sits on the shelf for 40 years. It's a symbol of what you could call localized grief. The family's grief lives in that closet. Kiju goes in there to smell the boots, to hold the doll. It's her way of keeping Ruthie present, of keeping hope alive in some small, tangible way.
But the universe isn't done with this family. There's more tragedy to come. We have to talk about Charlie.
Yeah.
This part, honestly, reading this made me put the notes down for a second. It's so senseless and brutal.
It is. This is the moment that shifts the narrative from tragedy to injustice. It proves that the world is actively hostile to this family, that Ruthie's disappearance wasn't just a random awful event.
Okay, so set the scene.
Years later, the family is back in Maine. They have to return. They need the money. It's a cycle of economic necessity. Joe is a teenager now. His older brother Charlie is there.
And they're at a carnival. It should be a happy night, a moment of relief.
It's a typical summer scene. There's a worker there named Frankie. He's described as harmless, vulnerable, and alcoholic. And some local white guys, the Johnson brothers, they start attacking him, just bullying him for sport.
Then Charlie steps in.
Charlie does what you hope anyone would do. He acts with honor. He stands up and defends the defenseless. But because he is Micmac, the aggression turns on him instantly.
The racism is immediate.
The Johnson brothers stop hitting Frankie, and they start beating Charlie. And they don't stop. It's a brutal, hateful attack.
And Joe is watching all of this.
Joe freezes. He's a kid, effectively. He sees this incredible violence, and he panics. He runs to get help. And he carries that moment for the rest of his life, the idea that he ran away instead of fighting alongside his brother. The guilt is immense.
And the outcome. They get Charlie in the truck. But they don't go to a hospital in Maine. Why?
Because they don't trust the hospitals. They don't trust the police. They've already seen how much their lives mattered to the authorities in Maine when Ruthie disappeared.
Right. They know what to expect.
They are terrified that if they go to the hospital, they'll be blamed or arrested or just left to die in the waiting room. So they try to make it back to the Canadian border, back to safety.
And Charlie dies in the back of the pickup truck?
He dies on the road home. The image of the mother wailing on the side of the road. The text says she curses God. It's the moment the family's spiritual spine just snaps.
Of course.
To lose one child is a tragedy. To lose a second under such violent racist circumstances, it completely destroys her faith.
And this sends Joe into what the book calls the rage.
It's compounded trauma. It's one thing layered on top of another. First Ruthie, now Charlie. Joe self-destructs. He feels he is the common denominator.
He blames himself.
I lost Ruthie. I lost Charlie. The guilt is eating him alive. He drinks to numb it. He becomes reckless. It all culminates in him walking blindly into traffic at night and getting hit by a truck.
He survives, but barely.
He survives, but he's left with a permanent limp and chronic pain for the rest of his life. It's a physical manifestation of his internal brokenness. He carries the scars of his family's history on his actual body.
So you have Joe, broken in body and spirit, and you have Norma, broken in identity. And then Section 4, the near miss. This felt like a scene straight out of a movie. It's the late 70s or early 80s at this point.
Yes, that's the time frame. Norma is a young adult, and she's visiting Aunt June in Boston. They're walking a neighborhood called Jamaica Plain.
And they just stumble onto a protest.
An indigenous rights protest. This is the era of the American Indian movement of activism. People are waking up. They're demanding rights. And who's there at that protest? Ben, Joe and Ruthie's other brother.
Ben sees Norma in a crowd of strangers from a distance.
And he doesn't see Norma. He sees Ruthie. Or rather, he sees his mother's face on a young woman. The family resemblance is that strong. The recognition is instant and primal. You know your own blood.
He screams her name. Ruthie!
He screams it across the crowd. And Norma's reaction is fascinating. She doesn't just look confused. She doesn't just say, who? The text says she nearly faints. Darkness closes in on her vision.
The body keeps the score. That classic concept from trauma studies.
It's exactly that. Her conscious mind, the one that's been told for 20 years that she's Italian, that her name is Norma, that mind is confused. But her nervous system hears her real name and reacts. It's a physiological recognition. The lie cannot suppress the biological truth.
But Aunt June. This is where June becomes so complicated for me. This is the moment where June stops being just the cool aunt and becomes something else entirely.
This is the moral pivot point for her character. June sees Ben. She sees the resemblance. She sees Norma having this physical reaction. She knows exactly what is happening.
She puts it all together in that instant.
And what does she do? She grabs Norma and she drags her away.
She flees. She physically removes her from the situation.
She is terrified. Absolutely terrified. She knows that if Norma talks to that man, the whole house of cards collapses. Her sister Lenore goes to jail. The family is destroyed. Norma's life, as she knows it, is upended. So he chooses the lie.
She protects the secret.
She protects the secret over the restoration of the family.
That is a devastating choice because she does love Norma, right? The book makes that clear.
She absolutely loves Norma. And in her mind, she probably convinces herself she's protecting Norma from confusion or from pain, but she is also protecting herself and her sister. She becomes an active participant, an accomplice in the kidnapping at that moment.
And back in Nova Scotia, Ben returns and tells the family, he says, I saw her. I saw Ruthie. The hope must have been incredible.
For some of them, yes. But Joe gets angry.
Why? Why wouldn't he be happy? If my brother told me he saw our missing sister after all that time, I'd be ecstatic.
Because for Joe, hope has become a form of torture. If she's dead, she's at peace. The grief is static. It's something he can manage. But if she's alive, it means she's out there, somewhere, not knowing them. It means the loss is ongoing. It means every single day is a fresh abandonment.
Now he can't handle it.
He shuts it down to protect himself. He chooses denial because the alternative, to hope and be wrong again, is just too painful to bear. It creates a rift between him and Ben that lasts for years.
So the moment passes, the worlds stay separate. Which brings us to Section 5, Norma's adulthood. She tries to live a normal life. She marries a nice guy, Mark.
Mark is safe. He's an accountant. He's kind. He's stable. He's the stability she thinks she wants. She thinks if she just follows the script, marriage, house, kids, all these feelings of displacement and wrongness will finally go away.
She gets pregnant, but then tragedy strikes her life too. It seems to follow this family everywhere.
She loses the baby, Sarah, late in the pregnancy, a stillbirth.
And this loss seems to be the thing that finally cracks the Italian shell. It's like the dam breaks inside her.
It breaks her wide open. She looks at her life and she sees only ghosts. She knows her mother Lenore had several miscarriages. She feels she is part of a cursed lineage of lost children. She feels that the lie she is living is somehow poisoning her ability to create life.
To try and heal from this, she and Mark go on a trip, and they go to Nova Scotia.
Fate just keeps pulling her home, doesn't it? And she feels an eerie familiarity with the landscape. The rocks, the water, the smell of the salt in the air. It all feels known to her on a cellular level.
Yeah.
She's vibrating with a recognition that she can't explain.
And then the gas station incident. It's such a small interaction, but it changes everything.
This is the catalyst for the final unraveling. They stop for gas. The attendant looks at Norma, just looks at her face, and he asks for her Indian card.
He's referring to a status card for tax exemption.
Correct. In Canada, status Indians are tax exempt on reserve or for certain goods. The attendant assumes, based purely on her phenotype, her facial features, that she is Micmac. He sees her for what she is.
And Mark just laughs it off. He says something like, "Oh no, my wife is Italian."
He does. But Norma doesn't laugh. For 30 years, she's been told she's white. She's been told she's Italian. And here is a total stranger, a random guy at a gas station who looks at her and sees the truth instantly.
It validates everything she's felt.
It validates the face she sees in the mirror. It confirms that the Italian story is a lie that only her parents believe, a lie she's been forced to live.
And this leads to her decision on the ferry back to Maine. She ends her marriage.
It's heartbreaking, but it feels completely necessary for her survival. She tells Mark she won't have another child. She pushes him away. She feels she is toxic, haunted, a carrier of grief.
But in doing so, she's reclaiming her own story.
She is. She reclaims her agency. She stops playing the role of the happy wife and accepts her own darkness. She chooses to face the void alone rather than drag him into it with her.
It's her first real act of independence from the lie. Meanwhile, Joe is finding a different kind of path in Section 6, a path towards redemption.
Joe's redemption is quiet. It's not a big dramatic fanfare. He survives the truck accident. His sister May, who we haven't mentioned enough, but who is the absolute rock of the family, gives him some very necessary tough love.
What should she say?
She essentially tells him, "You aren't special just because you saw her last. Stop torturing Mom with your self-pity."
He needs to hear that. He needs to be shaken out of his narcissism of grief in a way.
He does. He realizes his grief is a selfish thing that's hurting the people who are still alive, especially his mother. And after that, he meets Cora.
Cora is great. She works at the gas station. She's real. She's not trying to fix him or feel sorry for him.
She's older. She has red hair and freckles. She's distinct. She just accepts him as he is, limp and all. They get married in a church basement on New Year's Eve, and the text describes it as the happiest moment of Joe's life.
It shows that trauma doesn't have to be the only story.
Exactly. You can build a life around the hole in your heart. You can grow a garden around the bomb crater. It doesn't fill the hole, but it makes life possible again.
The story then brings us all the way to 2026. Joe is an old man. He's dying of cancer.
He is. He's facing his mortality. And the ending is so poignant. It's just Joe and Ben, two old brothers, sitting by a fire.
And they finally admit the truth to each other after all these years.
They admit that they never stopped looking. Every crowded room, every street corner, every face in a magazine. For 60 years, they have been scanning the world for her.
And they both still hope.
They both still hope to see her face one last time before they die.
It's a testament to the fact that you can't sever that bond. No matter how much time passes or how much pain there is, the love remained.
Exactly. The love outlasted the lie.
So, looking at the Berry Pickers as a whole, what are we really taking away from this? This isn't just a story about a kid rapping. It's so much bigger than that.
I think it's a meditation on the persistence of truth. Lenore tried to burn the photos. She tried to invent an Italian ancestor. She tried to pave over reality with wealth and silence and clean floors.
But it didn't work.
It couldn't work. Norma's dreams, her biology, her nervous system, they all rebelled. You cannot successfully erase a person's origin. The truth is buoyant. It always floats to the surface eventually.
It's the Italian lie versus the Indian truth. And the truth won, even if it took a lifetime.
And it forces us as readers to look at the accomplices, the people who stand by. We have to talk about Aunt June again.
Yeah, let's go back to her for a second, because she's a character that I think a lot of people might identify with. The person who doesn't do the bad thing, but doesn't stop it either. They're complicit through silence.
She loved Norma. She saved Norma from Lenore's worst impulses. She gave her the journal. She gave her safe space, but she kept the secret. For decades. She let Joe and his family suffer. She let a mother die without ever knowing what happened to her daughter, all to protect her niece's comfortable life.
Is love enough to absolve that? Is her love for Norma an excuse for her inaction?
That's the question the book leaves us with, isn't it? Is a lie acceptable if it's wrapped in love? Or is it still a form of violence? I would argue that by keeping the secret, she participated in the violence of the separation every single day.
It's a heavy question, and it really makes you wonder about your own family, your own history. What stories are we told about crazy Aunt so-and-so, or why we don't talk to that side of the family? What are those stories covering up?
The things we bury have a way of growing in the dark. We think we're hiding them, but we're actually planting them. And eventually, one way or another, they bear fruit.
That is The Berry Pickers. A massive thank you to Amanda Peters for writing such a necessary, beautiful, and painful book. And thank you to you, the listener, for going on this deep dive with us. This wasn't an easy one, but it was an important one.
Keep asking questions. Keep looking at the roots of your own stories.
We'll catch you in the next deep dive. Take care of yourselves.